everybody, my name is Sarah Devlin and welcome to this flip through of my watercolor sketchbook or watercolor book, I'm not sure what you call it. It is a Canson XL watercolor book, 10 by 7 inches or 7 by 10 I suppose, 30 pages and 300 GSM. And I used it for the last year and a half or so, so let's get to it. This is a little mushroom I painted while I was spending time with my nieces a couple years ago. The paint was from like a Klutz craft kit. It was just whatever the girls were using. So it's not the best paint and it's pretty chalky and it's a lot easier to see in person how messed up it is, but I had fun painting it and I used a tutorial, but I forget where the tutorial is from. And overall, it's just a little thing that makes me happy to look back on and smile, you know? This is a practice or an experiment for the background that I would originally have on my YouTube channel and on my website. It's very similar, but I ended up using some different techniques. This is another tutorial. It is some geodes and I use salt to create the texture in the center. I was really excited to do this and try it out, and I had a lot of fun with it at the time, I remember, and it's something I'd like to try again. This is the 9 planets, including Pluto, and this was also from a tutorial, and I had a lot of fun with a lot of different techniques because I was able to, try wet on wet, wet on dry, try it with salts, just different things to create the different textures that looked like the planets in our solar system. This was another tutorial. This one's really short and sweet and simple. It's just some little crystals. And I like how it turned out. There are some areas that are kind of messed up, like right there, that don't make sense, but overall it was something I enjoyed. This is an owl. He's not painted. It was from when we were watching Twin Peaks, and I kind of just gave up on him partway through. This was a painting from right before Inktober 2017. It is a young wizard or magician's apprentice with his friend who she wants to be a knight. And she's practicing while he's practicing whipping up some sort of concoction. I remember planning out these characters to try and maybe, use them during Inktober, and I ended up actually never using them. But it's still a cute little painting. A lot of Tamora Pierce vibes going on there. This is a painting of Persephone. She is known as the goddess of the underworld as well as the seasons, and I just put different things around her that made me think of her. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. Persephone is one of my favorite people in Greek mythology. I love the story of her and the pomegranates when I was a kid, and I actually named my first cat after her. I really wish I'd changed the border. I didn't make the paint thin enough for it, and it just didn't really work out. But that's the only regret I have about that one. This one is a little cup. It is really cute, really simple, little hot chocolate. The tree is not quite aligned with the perspective, but I still think it's cute. And I did some shading and shadows and was practicing with that. This is what my window looks like from my mother's house, and I drew the whole thing, got it all, planned out, all this complicated drawing right in it, and then I tried to draw the tree and gave up. I thought it was too hard after doing all that line work. It's definitely something I might continue later. This is another thing I gave up on. It was a poem, and I drew a little plant down at the bottom. I used watercolor pencils for that, actually. And then I ran out of room for the poem, and I just kind of gave up instead of restructuring it. It was a shame. This is a little gremlin. I actually have a speed paint of this one, which I will link to. He really wasn't really anything. He's just kind of like a raccoon rabbit creature. I don't really remember what made me paint him or what the inspiration was behind him. I did this one last spring, I think. It was a lot of fun. It was just a crazy little random doodle, but he's a little gremlin of some kind, and I like him a lot. He's creepy looking. This was just a page of doodles. You can see I was trying light from different angles, and I never finished that circle. It's just, little doodles with paint, essentially, just trying different things, different washes, different techniques, just seeing what I could do and how I could manipulate things. This is either a crystal or ice creature, demon, god, maybe. It was a character from a book story I have written down in one of my notebooks and one of my sketchbooks, and the idea is not something I'm actively pursuing right now. But I was not sure what to paint the one day, so I just copied the character idea over and painted it, and I think it turned out pretty cool. This is from my Pride Month marathon that I did in June, which I will link to that playlist on my channel. We have Raymond Holt and Rosa Diaz, who are both from the show Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Raymond Holt is gay and Rosa Diaz is bisexual. Below them, we have Garnet, who is, her sexuality is unknown, but she is a fusion of two female gems from the show Steven Universe. Then we also have Sarah Lance, who was on the show Arrow and then Legends of Tomorrow, and I think she's probably crossed over into a few other CW shows at some point, and she is canonically bisexual. And then below that we have the bi pride flag and the gay pride flag, which has the brown and black stripe, which is a little hard to see on this video, but it represents acceptance of the people of color in our community, and I felt that that was appropriate since Raymond Holt and Rosa Diaz are both people of color. And then this is Casey Golden, a Casey Golden prompt that I was inspired by. I believe it was something like pretzel and newspaper, and I forgot the newspaper part. So this is a snake doing some yoga. And I really did well with the washes in this one. I felt like I kind of leveled up at the time, I remember thinking. This is another Casey Golden prompt that was submarine, and this is just a little kid playing around in the water in the bath. I didn't really want to try and draw a person, especially a kid with no clothes on, so I just kind of, had it like he was underwater and just waving the submarine around and his hand was sticking out. I spent a lot of time focusing on the background in this one because I know I didn't have much background in the last one. This is another Pride Month Marathon painting piece. This is Stevani, also from Steven Universe, the fusion between Steven Universe and Connie Maheshwaran, and they are one of my favorite characters, so I just had to paint them because they are a great example for kids of people who use gender-neutral pronouns, and I think they're really cute and silly, and I love the way it combines Steven's and Connie's personalities. This was just a little plant. It was some sort of like experiment with wet on wet. You can see different areas where the paint bled just because I didn't let it dry long enough, and I think it was just playing around here. It looks like a sage plant, but I'm not sure. This is fan art from Welcome to Night Vale. Something else I did a speed paint for. Those swirls and the Arby sign were the first time I used liquid frisket or masking fluid, and it was challenging because of how humid it was, but I really, really love how this painting turned out. This is another Casey Golden prompt. I was experimenting with her style of creating the borders and just whatnot. I also used liquid frisket for this one as well. I think the prompts were unicorn and pirate, so the unicorn stole the pirate's hat, and he just kind of has like a shit-eating grin. Yeah, and it was a challenge, but I really enjoyed it. I think that was the first thing I painted in our new apartment. This is the last painting, and the one you're probably the most familiar with, because 2 weeks ago I did a speed paint of this. It is a building here in Pittsburgh that I saw on one of my walks and decided to paint it. I'm really proud of how it turned out. I really, really like the wall down at the bottom. I feel like the wet on wet created the aging and the mold or whatever it is perfectly, and I really like I said, how it turned out. It's definitely was a challenge as a painting. It was another one where I felt like I leveled up. And yeah, I'm really, really proud of it. And there are slightly less than 30 paintings in this, as you may have noticed, because I did rip some pages out, but that was the original amount. So you can see here I'm showing the sketchbook got really warped because I painted the things in it. I wish I had probably ripped out all the papers so I could, tape them down and make everything smooth. But in the end, it doesn't really matter, I suppose. And I'm really happy with this because it shows how much I have grown as an artist between the first painting and the last painting, and I really enjoyed it. So I guess I'm supposed to sign off here. I really hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you are having an excellent day. Bye, y'all.